My name is Cole Hargrove. I'm 36 years old. I live in Mill Haven, Georgia. I'm an electrician, not a foreman, not a supervisor. An electrician, the kind who shows up at your door at 7 in the morning with a tool bag and a thermos and does what needs to be done and goes home. I started the business 8 years ago with one truck, one license, and a list of 12 people who trusted me enough to call. Now I have 2 employees, a converted garage I use as a shop, and a reputation in this county that took me the better part of a decade to build. It is not a glamorous life, but it is mine. Every part of it. The work, the schedule, the weight of it, the satisfaction of it. I built it from nothing. I know exactly what it cost. A circuit is only useful if it's complete. You can have the most sophisticated system in the world, the right wire, the right panel, the right breakers, but if the loop doesn't close, nothing runs. Nothing lights up. Nothing moves. That's the thing about the life I had built. It was complete, or at least it looked complete. From the outside, from any angle anyone bothered to look, it was a closed loop. Work, shop, Ruth's house on Sundays. Back around again. I hadn't noticed a gap until I wasn't looking for it. When I was 29, I married a woman named Joanna. She was from Mill Haven originally. Left for college. Came back at 27, the way some people come back, with the sense that home would feel different now that they'd seen the alternative. It didn't. She knew within 6 months. I think I knew too, but we were already in it by then, and I'm not the kind of man who walks away from something he started. She lasted 14 months. She didn't leave angry. That's the part people don't expect when I tell the story. There was no fight, no ultimatum, no dramatic moment. She sat across from me at the kitchen table one evening while the sun was going down, and she said that Mill Haven felt like standing still and she needed to move, and that she was sorry, and that she meant the apology. I believed her. I still do. I don't blame Joanna for leaving. I understand it, in the particular way you understand something that costs you. What I never rebuilt, what I never even tried to rebuild, was the part of me that had been ready to stay, ready to plant, ready to picture a future with someone in it besides myself. I just stopped picturing it. It's easier than it sounds. You fill the space with work, with a business, with the particular satisfaction of a job done right. You stop leaving room at the table, and eventually you stop noticing the empty chair. That was my life for 7 years. It worked. Until the Tuesday morning, I got called to fix the electrical panel in the accounting office above Harkins Hardware on Mill Haven's Main Street. I had been in that building at least a dozen times over the years. Always the hardware store itself. Always a lighting issue or a breaker problem in the back storage room. Always Phil Harkin walking me through with a key and a cup of coffee and the particular exhausted look of a man who owns a building that is older than his marriage and almost as much trouble. I had never once run into whoever rented the office upstairs. The panel was in the back hallway between the 2 spaces, accessible from either side. I went through the exterior stair door and knocked. The door opened. The woman on the other side had dark red hair pinned up, reading glasses on, a pen in her hand, and the focused expression of someone who had been interrupted in the middle of something that mattered to her. She looked at me. She did not say anything for a moment. Then she said, "You're here about the panel." "Yes, ma'am." She stepped back and let me in. Her name was Diane Callum. I knew the name the way you know every name in a town this size, attached to a face you'd seen at the post office, at the gas station, at the edge of every room you'd ever been in. I had never actually spoken to her before. The office was small and precise. A desk, a filing cabinet, a computer, 2 chairs, one at the desk, one in the corner near the window that looked down onto the main street. Every single thing in that room was exactly where it was supposed to be. The kind of order that doesn't happen by accident. The kind that takes real intention every single day. She had a cup of coffee on the desk beside her keyboard. Only one cup. The chair near the window was empty. She gave me exactly what I needed to do the job. Access to the panel, a summary of the problem, a direct answer to every question I asked. Not 1 inch more. Not one word of conversation that wasn't necessary. I noticed the pen still in her hand the whole time. She never set it down. I did the job, or the part I could do that day. One of the breakers needed a replacement part that would have to be ordered. I told her I'd be back. Of course, she said, already back at her desk. I drove home, and I thought about her the whole way. The pen, the single coffee cup, the chair by the window with nobody sitting in it. I was annoyed at myself for it, but I thought about her anyway. If you're new here, this is Hearthside Tales. Every story on this channel is real. Every person in it earned what they found. If that's the kind of story you want more of, hit subscribe and the bell. We're just getting started. The part took 8 days to arrive. I called Diane on day 9 and told her I was coming by. She said fine. She said it the way she said most things, direct, composed, no additional information provided. I showed up with Tommy, my 24-year-old employee, because the panel access required someone to hold the line while I worked the connection. Tommy talks too much. He means well. He is constitutionally incapable of silence in any room where something interesting might be happening. On the second visit, Diane had moved the second chair, the one that had been empty in the corner. It was now beside the window, at an angle, with a small table between it and her desk. Neither of us mentioned this. The part went in. I told her there was one more thing to check, a junction box further along the same line that I wanted to look at before I signed off on the job. She said fine. I came back the following week. The chairs were still by the window. There were 2 cups of coffee now. She handed me one when I came in. I didn't say anything. She didn't say anything. I sat in the empty chair while she finished whatever she was reviewing, and then she asked me what I needed to access. We talked for 12 minutes. Not about anything significant. The weather. A road closure on the county line. The particular aggravation of the town council's decision about parking on Main Street. 12 minutes. It was the most she had said in my presence by a factor of about 6. On the third visit, I brought Tommy again because I genuinely needed a second pair of hands for the junction box. Tommy took one look at Diane across the office. Then he looked at me. Then he walked to the far end of the hallway and said to me, in what he believed was a low voice, but was not, "She looks at you like she's trying to figure something out." I told him to go wait in the truck. He went. I turned around. Diane was at her desk. She was looking at her screen. The tips of her ears had gone the particular color that ears go when someone has heard something and is choosing not to respond to it. She didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. I finished the junction box. She walked me to the door. She said, "Same time next week." There was no electrical reason for me to come back next week. "Sure," I said. She nodded. Went inside. Closed the door. I walked down the stairs to where Tommy was waiting in the truck with the particular expression of a man who has just been proven exactly right about something and is doing his level best not to say so. He didn't say it. I started driving. He said it anyway. The storm came on a Sunday in October. A fast one, the kind that shows up in the early evening without much warning and takes out 2 blocks of power and a section of fencing before most people have figured out it arrived. I was already at Ruth's house when it hit. Ruth is my father's sister, 68 years old, sharp as anything, warm as anything, and completely transparent about everything she thinks, except when she's being strategic, in which case she becomes very busy with something in the kitchen. Ruth lost power at 7:43. I spent 2 hours in the rain getting the main line restored while she sat inside with candles and a radio, and her particular expression of complete equanimity, as if men working in rainstorms to restore her electricity was simply the natural order of things. While I came back in, soaked through, she handed me a towel. She said, very casually, while she was heating water on the gas stove. I called Diane. Her apartment's on the same line. I didn't want her sitting alone in the dark. I looked at her. She did not look at me. I dried my hands. 20 minutes later, headlights came through the front window. Then a knock. Ruth called out to come in. Diane Callum came through the front door of Ruth's house with a flashlight in one hand and a covered plate in the other. She was wearing a coat over what looked like whatever she'd been wearing at home, simpler than the office clothes, something with no armor in it at all. Her hair was down. She looked around the room, found Ruth at the stove, then found me at the kitchen table in dry clothes with my hands wrapped around a mug. She stopped. The lights came back on. The whole kitchen flooded with light at once, the way it does when power returns after a few hours, brighter than it needs to be, like the house is embarrassed by the interruption. Diane blinked. I looked at her. Ruth looked at both of us. Then Ruth said, with the particular decisiveness of someone who has been planning this exact moment, "I'm going to bed. I'm exhausted. Cole, make sure Diane eats something." She was not exhausted. It was 8:22 in the evening. She went to bed anyway. Diane looked at the plate she was still holding. She sat on the table. She said, "I didn't know what else to bring." I said, "Sit down." She sat down. We ate together. The covered plate was a pot roast she had apparently been making most of the afternoon. It was the best thing I'd eaten in about 3 months. We talked for 2 hours. I didn't realize until later what that meant. In the town of Millhaven, in the 4 years since a man named Preston had left Diane Callum 2 weeks before their wedding without explanation, while the town talked about it loudly enough for both of them. In all of those 4 years, I do not believe Diane had talked to anyone for 2 uninterrupted hours. She laughed 3 times. Real laughs, not polite ones. At 10:30, she said she should go. I walked her to the door. At the door she stopped. She said, "Thank you." She meant the evening, not the electricity. "Any time," I said. She nodded, went out to her car. I stood at Ruth's front door and watched the taillights until they turned at the end of the street. Ruth, from somewhere back in the house she was supposedly sleeping in, said, "Cole." I said, "Good night, Ruth." She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. I need you to do something right now before we go any further. Hit that subscribe button, because what happens next, what she says in that office on that Friday, I have been building this story to get you there, and I don't want you to miss a single word of it. Subscribe, ring the bell, stay with me. The Fridays became a thing without either of us deciding they would be. I started showing up at 10. No electrical reason, no professional pretext, just coffee, 2 cups from the diner down the block, and the second chair by the window, and whatever the morning happened to bring in terms of conversation. Diane let this happen. That is the word. Let. She didn't invite it exactly. She didn't push back against it either. She simply made room for it, the way a careful person makes room for something they're not entirely sure about yet. Quietly, incrementally, without committing to what it means. For Fridays. 5. 6. By the 6th Friday, we had talked about her work, my work, Millhaven's slow and inexorable slide toward becoming a town that tourists stopped through on their way somewhere else. Her opinion of the new coffee blend at the diner, better. My opinion of the parking situation, still absurd. And the particular satisfaction of a thing done precisely right. We had not talked about Preston. We had not talked about Joanna. We didn't need to. They were both in the room. They sat in the chair that wasn't being occupied, and they listened, and they were present the way past things always are. Not controlling the conversation, just shaping it. Putting the weight of what things had cost in the space between what was said and what wasn't. It was the 7th Friday. Diane was at her desk when I came in. I set the coffees on the small table. She finished what she was doing, capped her pen, came to sit in her chair. She looked out the window for a moment. Then she said, "My lease is up in 2 months." I waited. She said, Phil is selling the building. Phil Harkin, the hardware store below. His building, her office. She turned her cup slowly in both hands. She said, I'll have to find somewhere else. There's nothing on Main Street at a rate that makes sense. I could move the practice to the apartment, but the apartment isn't big enough to do it properly. She paused. Or I could look at whether it makes more sense to move the practice entirely. She said this last part without any particular emotion, the way a person says something they have already made peace with, even though the making peace cost them something real. I understood what she was saying. She was telling me she might leave Millhaven. She was telling me in the particular way that Diane Callum told people things that mattered, sideways, composed, giving the information without requiring anything from the person receiving it. She was giving me the information. That was all. I should have said something practical, something useful. I should have thought for 2 seconds before I opened my mouth. I did not think for 2 seconds. I said, You should just marry me then. Problem solved. I said it lightly, the way you say something that is, on the surface, completely a joke, a throwaway line. The kind of thing men say when they don't have anything better and they want to fill a silence with something that sounds like wit. Diane went completely quiet. Not embarrassed quiet. Not laughing quiet. Not the polite silence of a person who has decided the best response to an awkward joke is to let it pass. The kind of quiet that falls when something true has been said out loud in a room where both people can feel how true it is, and neither one of them is prepared for that. I heard what I had said. I started to walk it back. Said it was a joke, obviously. Said I didn't mean. Said I was just. Diane said, What if I? And stopped. 2 syllables. 3 words and a stop. A sentence that had begun and then encountered something. Not an obstacle. More like a door. The kind you find yourself standing in front of when you weren't looking for a door at all. She took her glasses off. She set them on the desk. She looked at me. Not the composed look. Not the careful professional look she had been wearing every day in that office for 4 years like armor she had forgotten she put on. She looked at me directly from whatever was underneath all of that. Whatever she had been keeping contained and orderly and precisely arranged since the day Preston left without explanation and the whole town watched. She did not finish the sentence, but she did not take it back either. The room was very quiet. I'm not a man who panics easily. I have been in situations where the wrong move cost someone their safety or their property or their peace of mind, and I have learned over a long career that the most important thing you can do in a live-wire situation is slow down. Breathe. Look at what is actually in front of you before you touch anything. I looked at what was actually in front of me, and I understood that the next thing I said would matter more than anything I had said to any person in years. I did not joke. I did not deflect. I did not reach for wit or lightness or any of the comfortable armor men reach for when something real is happening and they are afraid of it. I looked at her and I said, quietly and completely seriously, I wasn't entirely joking. The silence that followed was the most honest silence I had sat in for a very long time. Diane looked at me. She did not say anything. After a moment, she picked her glasses up, set them on her nose, looked at the desk. I have work to finish, she said. Her voice was steady. Almost. Not quite. Okay, I said. I got up, picked up my coffee, walked to the door. I did not look back. Not because I wasn't tempted. Because she deserved the space to breathe in that room without me watching her do it. I went down the stairs, got in my truck, sat there for a full minute. Then I drove home. Don't you dare close this video, because what she does 3 days later, what she walks through that door holding, is the moment this entire story has been building toward. But before we get there, if this story is hitting different, if you feel what these 2 people are carrying, subscribe to Hearthside Tales. Every single story on this channel is told this way. Real people, real weight, real payoff. Subscribe now. The bell too. We're almost there. I gave her 3 days. Not as a strategy. Not as a calculated move. Because 3 days felt like the amount of space a person like Diane Callum needed to arrive somewhere on her own without feeling like she was being waited on. I did not call. I did not come by. I did not send Tommy past Main Street on any errand that might constitute reconnaissance. I went to work. I ran the line on a residential job in the east part of the county. I answer my calls. I file my invoices. I sat in the shop in the evenings at the beat-up workbench Ruth bought me the coffee maker to keep me company at, and I did not think about the sentence that had not been finished. I did not think about it very hard. On the 3rd day, I heard a knock at the open shop door. I looked up from the workbench. Diane Callum was standing at the threshold of my garage. Coat on, hair pinned up, glasses on. In one hand, a small jar of touch-up paint, the kind you get from the hardware store below her office, white with a pale green lid, the type Phil keeps in a bin near the back door for $1.50 a jar. She held it up when she saw me looking. She said, "I thought I could use it on the windowsill. In the office. It's been chipped for 2 years, and I kept meaning to get around to it." The chipped paint on the windowsill by the chairs. I had noticed it the first time I walked into that office. I had noticed it every visit since. Neither of us had ever mentioned it. I set down my tools. Diane looked at the jar in her hand. She looked at me, and because she is Diane Callum, precise and careful and completely composed for 4 years, and because she had been all of those things for so long that she was tired of the weight of them, she finished the sentence. What if I meant it to? No question mark. Not a question. A statement. The kind a person makes when they have already made the decision and just needed enough time to be certain. I walked across the shop. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The town found out the way everything finds out in a place this size. Through Ruth, primarily, who cried when I told her, and then denied having cried with an intensity that confirmed she had cried significantly. Tommy found out 2 days later and told every person within a 4-block radius before lunch. The landlord, Phil Harkin himself, heard through the particular grapevine that is Mill Haven's primary infrastructure that Diane Callum might be staying after all, and he appeared in her office the following Wednesday with a new lease offer at a rate that was, by any reasonable measure, extremely fair. Small towns run on exactly this kind of information. By spring, the office above Harkin's Hardware had a proper second chair permanently positioned by the window. The windowsill had been freshly painted. White, pale green lid, $1.50 from the bin by the back door. On Fridays, I come by at 10. 2 coffees from the diner. The chair that is now mine. Cole Hargrove, 36 years old. Electrician. Mill Haven, Georgia. A circuit is only useful if it's complete. I stopped keeping track of the Fridays. I don't need to keep track anymore. Cole and Diane. A joke that wasn't a joke. A sentence left unfinished for 3 days. And a jar of paint worth $1.50 that changed everything. If this story stayed with you, if you felt every single beat of it, then you are exactly who Hearthside Tales is made for. These are stories about real people who almost didn't let themselves have the thing they needed most. And we tell them here, every week, the way they deserve to be told. Subscribe to Hearthside Tales. Turn on the bell so you never miss one. Drop a comment and tell me, what was the moment in this story that hit hardest for you? Was it the paint? The sentence she didn't finish? The 2 chairs by the window? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and I'll see you in the next story.